Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson, and today I have a special guest in Grant Johnson.
Hey, Brandon.
And Grant, we go back to when I first started. My aunt, rest in peace, obviously.
Yeah.
She, introduced me to you. So we've over the years we've got to know each other a little bit, and I followed you and I watched you grow your team fairly large now.
I wish I could take credit for it, but I don't do most of it, man. So, and you're right. Your Aunt Lori did introduce us, and I miss her deeply on our team, by the
Yeah.
way. So,
Yeah, she was I still have some of our clients together and they reach out to me, about it. But yeah,
yeah.
so I know she thought the world about you too, which
So,
says a lot about, a boss.
oh, I don't know why, but yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I miss her a lot.
Yeah.
She was one of the originals on our team.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Well, anyway,
yeah.
so how long have you been in real estate?
I believe I got licensed in 1993. So what is
93.
that, 30 years? It was 93 or 94. So it's
Yeah.
29 or 30 years.
Yeah.
I've been in real estate. Um, Started a team about 10 years ago,
Okay.
basically. I I did real estate different than a lot of people though when I started. I actually I did something really silly as I got into new construction and land development rather than just going out and selling homes. So for the first 15 years of my career, I really had two clients.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was like to actually
To
have other clients. So
Sure.
I did things different than most people.
Well, but that sets you up for, down the road success, that's for sure.
We've done really well with the new construction.
Hmm.
We've represented the same builder for 20 plus years
Yeah.
and the same land developer for 20 plus years.
Yeah. I mean that's a
And
deep
so
relationship.
we've done different things than most realtors.
Sure.
So it's kind of a weird, almost specialty.
Hmm.
And we're still doing it as a team. It's probably 15, 20% of our business now instead of 100%,
Right, right.
but we're still doing it.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite part of real estate.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a whole different animal, period.
100% different to the
Yes.
point the process is different.
Yeah.
Like we'll go out and find a piece of land,
Uh-huh.
figure out what you can do with it from starting out by just sketching it on a piece of paper.
Sure.
Like our current project is a townhome project in Vadnais Heights.
Hmm.
I actually took a yellow tablet of paper, sketched it out, made a little map, and this is what we could do.
Yeah.
And then we took it, further with I get involved with the engineering, with
Sure.
the actual planning process, taking it through the city
I was gonna
council.
say you have zoning and all
Yep.
kinds of things
So
things you
yeah.
have to do.
So we do completely different business than a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because there's, part of this podcast is all things real estate,
Yep.
right? And not just buying single family homes or multifamilies, into getting into a land development. So if there's people out there that listen about like land development, like how does someone even go? Like just how did you get like how let's just start with that. How did you can make that connection right away?
I was blessed that one of my uncles was a land developer for years, so I was able to learn from him.
Nice.
So, in what I was advised up front and what I would do if I was anybody is identify a house that has a lot attached to it.
Right.
Start that way. You buy the house and the lot, you divide the lot off, you resell the lot, and then you resell the house.
Nice.
And then you can kind of go into further into platting, which it gets complicated. It could be a year or two process to get a development approved.
Right.
And the last one we did, we had probably $50,000 cash invested before we even knew it was improved.
Right.
So it took time
Mm-hmm.
and it takes some cash. But
Mm-hmm.
the best thing is, honestly, I just drove around and
Okay.
said, man, somebody could do something with that. I wonder who owns it.
Sure.
So then I started looking up on the tax records, which you can do in the MLS pretty
Right.
easily.
Right.
Who owns it? So then I call them or go knock on their door,
Yeah.
say, are you interested in selling?
Yeah.
And it's really the way we started doing it.
That's crazy. I mean, that's
You know,
that's fantastic because I wouldn't know where to begin on doing that. And I did talk to someone last year that they bought a few acres in Bloomington, and they're still now finally got the project going, but they were 65 grand in architect and
yep,
like everything, and then the bank pulled the rug out from underneath them.
can happen every time.
Yeah.
We always private finance them. We
Yeah.
don't go to a bank anymore.
Sweet.
We know enough private people with money that are willing to invest
Sure.
that it
Sure.
feels safer at this time
Right.
to do it that way.
Right.
And then a lot of times the builders will want to invest into it too, because then they're a partner in it.
Right. What you want in the first place
Oh,
anyway.
heck yeah. So realistically for us, we're making money two or three different ways on the project because we're the developer a lot of times, are part of the development team and getting part
Mm-hmm.
of that profit.
Right.
Generally, we try to get paid commission when we buy the land,
Yep.
and then we're always will represent the builder.
Right.
So if a builder's going to build in our development, we have to represent
You're
them.
the one representing them.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So it works out really well that way.
Yeah. And then, so when you go into building a development, like you know, like, okay, we're going to go with single family homes, we're going to go with condos or townhomes. Do you ever, like in the North Metro, what I've noticed is that there's more townhomes there, but down in the Southern Metro, there's townhome style condos.
Yeah.
And is there, do you know the reason why that is the case at all?
I don't. I honestly don't. We generally stay in the northern metro.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
we always, if we're doing condos or townhomes, we
Sure.
always make them townhomes because I know it's easier for financing.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So that's our reason behind it every time.
Right.
We'll make it lot and block because it's easier for you guys,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Because then it's we know specifically after the condo building that went down in Florida, and they
yes,
made the rules even harder. And now we have to follow these new rules about when did they have the building inspected last, and and then right away, man, that was a difficult because the associations they didn't want to say, oh no, we don't want we're not filling that out
and
at all. Well, we can't finance the property without this filled out,
just
right?
do lot block.
Right.
It'll be perfect every
So
time.
yeah, anyway, but when you're doing that, so you're part of that. Yeah, obviously you're sketching this out,
Yep.
drawing it out. I'm assuming you're like, well, we could put this many lots in, and we could do
What
whatever.
we do is a
Yeah.
guesstimate, right? The whole thing.
All right.
And then we get our engineers involved, the surveyors, and
Mm-hmm.
realistically you take your ghost sketch, whatever you want to call it, and bring it to the city.
Right.
You sit down with the city planner, you sit down with the city engineers and say, this is what we think we'd like to do here. What are your thoughts? What would you like to see?
Yeah.
I've learned it's always easier when you get the city staff on your side
Sure.
rather than trying to push the rock uphill and fight them the whole
Right.
way.
Right.
We'd much rather 100% say, what do you want to do and see if we can make it work and make the numbers work on it.
Right.
Because if we can, then it's just an easier path the whole
Yeah.
way.
So I'm assuming you do that before the actual purchase is consummated, right?
We will
So
never close till we have full city approval.
right.
So we always arrange our purchase agreements to be a closing date 30 days after full city approval.
Oh, nice. Oh,
And, we put an end date on there, obviously,
sure. Right.
because no seller's going to sign an open-ended purchase
Right.
agreement, I don't think.
We're holding on to this
So,
for 4 years.
but it just seems to be the safest for everybody.
Right, right. So have you gone through a whole development where you've had to do like all the roads and put
Yep.
in, yep. So
Yeah.
you've done all that.
We've done it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets to be big projects,
It's
huh?
fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been on site while they do it.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of entertaining. It's like a big kid with Tonka trucks out there and
Right.
playing around, you know?
Absolutely.
This isn't selling real estate. This is something different. It's entertaining and fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole new world. I mean, it's obviously something one of my mentors actually, he was part of that Bloomington project.
Yeah.
Now they got it going again. Um, and it's just like what he's telling me, and it's like, oh, that sounds fun. That sounds exciting. So,
You've done this a long time too.
yes.
It's something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
it's
know?
not the same old.
Yeah. Change is fun.
Yes.
Change can be fun once in a
Yeah.
while.
Well, right now when we have a lack of supply, so let's talk about that a little bit. We got such a lack of supply. What do you feel like the builder sentiment is right now?
Builders are nervous still
Mm-hmm.
with rates where they've
Mm-hmm.
headed. I mean, if you look at the national builders, they're all doing some crazy low interest rate, and
Mm-hmm.
your local builders can't touch. They can't
Right.
do that stuff.
Right.
I think builders are still nervous, and I think they're nervous because it's really hard to build what I would call affordable housing, at least in Minnesota.
Right.
You go to Wisconsin, it's a lot easier. Their building restrictions are easier. Everything's a little cheaper over there.
Sure. Sure.
But to build a home at what's the average sales price? 350?
Right.
Build a home at 350?
And how do you, yeah,
Where?
how do you make, yeah, where are you going to make that money? Where's your margin going to come
Hour,
from?
hour. You got to
Right.
be an hour out of the cities to make it happen.
Right.
And so, like our townhomes are 550 to 700.
Right. That's crazy.
And
Townhome.
they're selling, and,
Yeah.
and nobody's complaining about the price.
No.
but that's not affordable housing to me.
No, no, it's not.
I mean, what's the payment on that? Depending on what you put down, you're over three all
Oh,
day.
easy, easy, 3, 4 right now,
Yeah.
depending on what you're putting down. What do you see? What do you, the people that are buying those, are they more of a kind of all over? Are they more older or?
Our project there is unique,
Hmm,
that we have people as young as their early 20s, but as
okay,
old as 80.
okay,
But I'd
right,
say our average is probably empty nesters,
sure,
and
right.
they're selling their home, coming in either paying cash.
Downsizing and not having to take care of any,
They call it downsizing, but it's a 3,000 square foot
right,
townhome, so it's usually
right.
bigger than their
Than
house.
their house that they
But
had now.
so they're generally coming in, they're putting 20% plus down or paying
Sure,
cash,
sure,
and it's a pretty easy thing for them. They
nice,
they just don't want the yard work, any of the snow stuff. That
right,
they want out of that.
right, yeah.
You know.
Well, then they also, I mean, when I lived in my townhome community in Edina, I was the youngest one at that time. I moved in, I was 32 years old. And I think, not putting real numbers on everybody, but I think I was 20 years younger than like the next
You
youngest
probably
person
were,
there.
yeah.
And which I mean, I loved those people. I had one of my actual, like, I called him my city grandpa because he was just like my grandpa from
Yep.
up north, just on this, just more city version of it. But they, I learned a lot from them, from, what they did in real estate, to buying boats, like to
Did,
where I should put my boat.
did you buy that new or did you buy it existing?
No, that was existing. That was
Okay.
actually a 72 built townhome, but it was technically a condo.
Yeah.
And it was unique in that nature, but they all love that community.
They all tend to. And what I found too, especially when they're brand new, nobody knows each other when they get there. There's no click started yet.
Right, right.
These guys, at a lot of the projects, I'll get invited to parties. I was just invited to a progressive dinner
Yeah.
where they were going from house to house to
Sure,
house.
sure.
I mean, I've been out to happy hour with some of these
Yeah,
people at these projects, and we don't do a lot of townhomes. We mainly do
sure,
single family,
sure, sure.
but it is pretty cool because you see a whole community come together. That's why I said it's different.
So let's talk about that when you're setting up a townhome, like you got association.
Yep.
Who goes about setting up the association? Do you have any part of that?
I was, yeah, and
Yeah.
but the attorney did most of it.
Oh, thank
I
you.
just read the darn things. I don't know.
Right. There's a lot of
I,
lot of
I
legal
didn't even know
language in
damn well
there.
what I was reading half the
Right.
time,
I know.
So,
Huh.
no, it got to have a good attorney,
Yeah.
and like, the cool thing, like I said, is you're building a community.
Right.
I really believe most people, if they had a choice, they would live in a brand new home.
Oh, for sure.
So it's like almost part of the American dream. And when
Right.
you're doing the new construction, it's just a different dream.
Right. Right.
So that's what I enjoy about it.
Yeah, I built, when I was actually 26, I built one before the crash and had to short sale it.
Yeah,
Um,
been there.
right.
It's a
And
whole different podcast.
yeah,
So,
right. Um, but it was awesome to watch it go up,
yep.
and like, oh, we picked out, this style, and then you start watching, then you go to the design center and you get to pick up, all, flooring and whatnot, and you go, and then, I think I was out there every other week, if not every week,
Yeah.
you know. So it was pretty fun to do that. So I'm assuming you guys have that same,
Yeah, you don't want me doing that.
yeah, right.
It'd be gray floors, gray walls. It'd all be the
Right.
same. So yeah, no, I don't do that. They have people that handle all
They
that.
have the design
Interior
center, right?
designers and
Yep.
all that do that stuff.
Yep.
You know what we're learning though, it's different. Is people are changing, right? The way
Hmm.
people want. They want all this convenience.
Sure.
Most people don't want to do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want to go make the selections. They want a
They
completed
want
house.
somebody to just say, hey, this is what the style is.
Yeah, and it's done. They
Yeah.
they want to walk in, see a completed home and buy it.
Oh, well,
So we're doing more and more spec homes now.
okay.
So
That's interesting.
it's a different dynamic out there.
So when you're doing the spec homes, you just basically build it to a
Whatever.
that, and then you put it's completed, it's
Correct.
on the market,
Yep.
and you sell it that way.
Yep. So we have one up in Roseville right now that's a spec home, single family.
Hmm.
We have three at the townhome development that are ready to go for people to move into.
Nice.
And we found it's easier to sell them that way too.
Yeah.
They would just walk in, they go, I like everything in here. I want this one.
Yeah. Well, you probably don't have the like change order request at the last month either. Like, oh, we want this kind of granite
You
instead.
you have zero
Right.
because the builder's choosing everything.
Yeah.
We don't even put it on the market till it's done.
Right.
That is what I've seen as the biggest change in the last few years with people,
Mm-hmm.
is that they really prefer that.
Just have it ready to go.
Yep.
Like, here, this looks good. We like it. Like the colors.
Yeah, and it works out really well. I mean, you just pick what's popular, right?
Right, right.
White cabinets, white trim, gray
Oh, right
walls.
now
Yeah, no,
everything's yeah.
that's what it is.
White countertops with the gray,
Yep.
white quartz with the gray in it.
Yep. Yeah. No granite. It's got to be quartz now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I built when I bought my house, I put the white. I was like, I had only seen it a couple places, and now since then, it's like every single one is white
Yeah.
with the gray. But
It's crazy.
yeah,
You see the trend everywhere.
yep, it is what it is. Um, so with your team, how many people do you have on your team now? Like what? How many real estate agents do you have?
We are at 31 agents,
Wow.
um, 4 staff members, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
you got you
we have agents that have been in the business as long as 40 years on our team,
right.
and obviously a lot of rookies too.
Sure, sure.
And we have a full-time marketing person, we have full-time transaction coordinators, we have a director of operations, and we have 2 sales
Who does
managers.
your videos? I see a lot of your videos on
Oh,
Instagram and Facebook,
our
man.
market, we
Those
do them
are
ourselves
awesome.
now.
Yeah.
We used to hire somebody,
All
but
right.
with an iPhone, it wasn't
Right.
that hard to do
Right
them,
now you
you
can
know?
just yeah,
So Katie, who's our marketing person, does them all.
sure.
She should have been here today, but she's out sick.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so
Yeah, no, you guys have put obviously, I've watched your team grow.
yeah,
When Lori was there, it was only
about
like
4 of us.
yeah, I was gonna,
I think it was Lori, myself, Amber,
yep,
and one other person who's probably not on the team anymore,
sure,
and
sure.
that was it.
And now you're 7, 8 times that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and I can't take credit.
right.
Honestly, it's Amber and another sales manager we have.
Sure.
They've done all the growing of the team.
Hmm.
It's not me.
Yeah. Well, you still have to drive the bus
They're
to a
letting me
degree,
drive less and less.
right?
They're
Well,
putting me in the back of the bus more and more, which is working out okay. It's better for them.
right.
Um,
Well, hey, if you get the buses rolling in the right direction in the first place and you let them take over, that's the best.
it should work out pretty good. They're
Yeah.
better at it than me.
Yeah,
Realistically, they're much better.
that's awesome.
My job's down to producing leads and producing more business for the team, and that's really what I'm doing.
Right, right. What do you see? We'll probably close out on this, but what
Yeah.
do you see for the next like 24 months? Like, how do you, even 12 months? What do you think? What do you see? What trends are you seeing right now?
I hear a lot of people saying they want to wait till the prices come down, right? I don't think they're going to come down till supply and demand gets figured out.
And
And
and that's the question is how do we figure that supply and demand?
well, there's a few different ways, in my opinion, but
Right?
um, are people moving if they got a 2.5% interest rate right now?
No,
Not unless they have to, right?
correct.
So how do we figure out how do we get first time home buyers into the market? Because it always trickles up. First time home buyers buy, and then the next person moves, right?
Right.
Go back to new construction. Figure out a way for the state to make it affordable to build homes for the first time home buyer.
That's number one.
Build a $350,000 new construction home,
Right.
which could be done with less regulations.
Right.
And I really think that's how it's going to happen. I don't see a crash coming personally. I just the supply and demand is not going to happen.
Correct.
You tell me when rates are going to come down. I'm hearing spring, but who knows?
I think, it looks like, obviously the news the last couple weeks have just been of all the CPI that, all the information that's coming out is one thing's good, one thing's bad. And I think the pendulum over the next 6 months is going to swing so far that they're going to be forced to cut rates in the
Yep.
springtime. And I think by summer next year, I bet you we're 6,
Which is better, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we're not going to see 2.5, 3
No,
again.
no.
And
I think what releases a lot of homes is if we can get to the mid fives.
yes,
Because now you can take, okay, well, we outgrew our house.
yep,
We have to do this. What was our mortgage before? It was 5, 4.5, or whatever. I think that's realistically where we settle in 2024, 2025, end of 24, 25.
and that'll work.
Right.
I mean, I sold homes at 10, 12%.
Right. Right.
People still
They
move.
still do.
You just got to do the right things.
I had an agent reach out to me the other night and they asked me, it's like, what do I say to this? Like this is the feed, they're like, what do I say to somebody that has a 2.5% interest rate? And they're like, why would I trade that in?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I said, there's a couple different, find the motivation, number one, but can they buy without selling? Right. Because as a lender, if they can get a lease agreement on that house, we can use that and knock that
build equity and
right.
build
If they can come
wealth.
up with 5% down, and then when there's a pent up demand,
Oh
when
yes,
rates come down, the
yes.
prices, why there isn't going to be a crash? If any homes come on, the pent up demand is there.
Rates
People are going to buy.
price will go up then.
So,
Once the demand,
yeah,
price will just keep
price
going
will
up
just
and up
keep
and up.
going. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, and she's like, that's fantastic because tell them like, hey, you can rent it for a year, 2 years, and then maybe you can sell it and have even more equity, but you subsidized this new 7% interest rate
Yep.
with that your other house, right?
Go back to
So,
2000, was it 2006?
mm-hmm,
And we go no doc loans and everything,
right,
you
right.
know, and
There we go.
negative AM, have
Right?
all that come back.
Yeah, there we go.
So
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, the need is there, the demand's there. I mean, the population growth, specifically in your metro areas, are growing because that's where your jobs are.
correct.
It is what it is. I think, 2025, a lot of the people that moved out to, and working from home, what my understanding is, this work from home environment doesn't work out the best anymore, like it did at the
Yes.
beginning of COVID.
A lot of my friends that were working from home have been called back to the office.
Yep. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, holy cow, I'm now 2 hours out.
Yeah, why did I move to Texas? My
Right.
job's in Minneapolis, right?
Right. So I think there's a lot of things in play, and I can't see a crash because there's 6,000 homes on the market right now in
Yeah.
the metro. It's so,
I'll be shocked, but we don't know. We'll never know till it happens.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we don't know. We don't hold a crystal ball. We can only look at forecasts. It is what it is. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, having somebody on with your expertise in the building realm that's awesome. And if anybody, so your office is in
Technically Arden Hills.
Arden Hills,
Yep.
right? The Shoreview, Arden Hills area. And then your these properties that you have that your builds are in Roseville.
Roseville, Vadnais Heights.
How many units do you guys like? Do you have like a certain number that you shoot for when you're trying to buy a piece of property or?
We try to stay smaller because we don't compete with the nationals.
Right.
So figure 25 or less
Okay.
is
Right
kind
on.
of our thing.
Which is still a
And
big number.
and we like being inside the 694, 494 loop.
Yeah.
We like to stay inside if we can.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. And you're going to see a lot of, especially specifically if you get those tracks, you see a lot of turnover in these
Yes.
houses. People are now tearing down houses or
Yep.
and building.
Yeah, this we do a lot. When we've done Roseville, it's almost always tear down
Tear
and
down.
build.
Right. Yep.
And so that's what we did. That's how we got through the downturn last time. We'll do it again if it ever happens.
Yeah.
So
Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And the people that have the experience in this industry are going to make it.
you can always survive.
Yep. Yep.
So.
You just got to figure out where's the next, what is the next thing that's going to happen? How am I going to make it? Right.
That's right. Just be adaptable.
Yep.
Be willing to change.
Yep. Well, Grant, it's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank
Love
you.
having you on. Anybody has any questions for Grant, if you're thinking about specifically that Roseville area, contact him.
Thanks.
We'll have all the details. Like and subscribe. But again, thanks, Grant, for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
It was fun.
Yep.
All right.
Just conversation.